Hi, it's the Irish Gypsy here to do your January 2016 mid-month reading. I continue to use the Gilded Tarot deck, and even though this is basically geared towards the last half of January, I will still be using the same 8-card format as I do for the generals to give us as in-depth a look as possible at what the remainder of the month looks like, potentially. These are general readings, so if they do not apply or resonate the same for everyone who watches them, I suggest you also check your rising and your moon sign as well. For those of you who are interested in personal readings, you can click on the About button on my channel's homepage, and that will give you a little more information and detail about myself, the services I offer, and my contact information. And a special thank you to those of you for whom I have done personal readings so far. It's been an honor and a pleasure to meet each and every one of you. And thank you to those of you who continue to listen and watch and subscribe to my channel. Your feedback and support have been most welcome and very gratifying, and for the most part has been fairly positive. So thank you so very much. So let's get right into this reading. This is for Aries for January 2016 mid-month. Although this can also represent energies in the beginning, the first 2 weeks of the month as well. I'm having a bad hair day today. Aries, mid-month, January 2016. What does the middle of the month of this new year hold for you? Aries, my restless child of the zodiac. Aries, January 2016, mid-month. Okay, we begin with the Devil card, followed by the Magician. Then we have the Wheel of Fortune, followed by the Ace of Wands, 3 major arcana already. The Eight of Wands, followed by the Tower card, and the Lovers, followed by the Five of Swords. And as your overall theme, general feeling, and advice for the month, the card from the bottom of the deck is the Six of Swords. You know, it's interesting. I just finished doing Leo's reading, which is also a fire sign, as you are, Aries. And they too had 5 major arcana cards in their reading, which is quite extraordinary. And you have the same amount. So I leave astrology to those of you who are more expert at it than I am, because I am not at all. But I do wonder what is going on with the fire signs this month. So let's begin. We begin with the Devil card, followed by the Magician. Now, the Devil card can speak of, it speaks of primarily of imbalance. It can speak of addictions, conventional addictions like drugs, alcohol, sex, money, things of that nature. But primarily it speaks of imbalance, of obsession even, of putting an unhealthy and inordinate amount of our time, our attention, our focus, our money, um, our resources into something to the extent that it is harmful to us and unhealthy. This card speaks primarily of imbalance. Now, it's paired with the Magician card, which is the card of having everything that you need, all the tools and all the knowledge and all the expertise and wisdom with which to make any changes that you want in your life, in your world, or in any projects you want to begin. The Magician is someone who has, after walking a long, hard road of trial and error and life, has gotten to the place where he has all the tools and all the knowledge that he has with which to affect any changes in his world that he wishes to. This is the card of things being in your control. This is a card I always feel primarily comes down to choice and to the outcome of a situation depending on the decisions and actions that we take. Even though it's a major arcana card, it speaks to, and I feel that's quite true in this reading, even though it's a major arcana card, which is about external, strong, powerful external influences coming from the outside in to affect us, this card points strongly to us having more control in a matter than we think we do, in terms of being able to make our own decisions and decide our own path in something. So I think that this coupling of cards, I'm getting the feeling quite strongly, Aries, that you, somewhere in the middle of the month, although this could also be a carryover from the first 2 weeks of January, you find yourself in a situation or a relationship, because I feel quite strongly for the majority of you, or maybe even not for the majority of you, but for a specific group, this is actually relationship oriented, that you find yourself in a relationship that looks like it has an unhealthy imbalance in it. And maybe for a smaller portion of you, what I'm feeling quite strongly is that this is a relationship where there actually might be an element of abuse in it, whether it's physical or psychological abuse or mental abuse or some kind of, there's an element of control in it that feels harmful and unhealthy. And it looks like this is a situation, even though it may um, feel like you are bound to it in some way, or that there's almost an obsessive addiction in this relationship, or an unhealthy dependence or neediness in this relationship that makes you feel perhaps somewhat helpless. Um, this combination of cards and the Devil card followed by the Magician card speaks quite strongly to you having more control in this situation, more control in this relationship in terms of whether to stay or to walk away than you think you do. The Magician card speaks very strongly to you having the ability to make a choice and a decision in this relationship or in this situation to um, to deal with it in a different way or to walk away entirely. Your overall theme card being the card of leaving, of sailing from troubled waters into more serene waters. And I get this as an overall theme feeling and a very strong piece of advice, but we'll get to this a little bit later. So yeah, it speaks to, looks like around the middle of the month, although this feels like a situation, I actually think this is a situation that's been going on for quite some time. But there's something that happens around the first couple of weeks, the middle of the month of January 2016, Aries, which brings it into sharp focus for you. Perhaps you're talking to someone or getting advice from someone, or someone is getting you advice, that you actually have more control than you think you do, in this, that you're not as bound as you think you are, that you have everything that you need in order to leave the situation or change the situation somehow, or change your position and perspective in this situation. Now, we are followed by the Wheel of Fortune, which is a great major arcana card to have in the upright position, followed by the Ace of Wands. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is just that. The wheel is always turning on the upswing for some, on the downswing for others. It speaks of, and as this is in the upright, it speaks of an opportunity, a very positive opportunity. It's something which happens completely unexpected, something being presented to you, a very fortunate opportunity. And again, this is in the upright position, so it's paired with the Ace of Wands. Aces representing new beginnings, new seeds. Wands, the element being fire and air, and Wands is a suit that represents action, change, movement, power. And what I feel, Aries, especially following this coupling of the Devil card and the Magician, is I feel like something happens to bring, perhaps you've been either blind to the imbalance in this situation, perhaps maybe even willingly have your eyes closed to certain aspects of it willingly. Something happens to bring it into sharp focus, so that you can, what I feel is that you can no longer ignore the unhealthiness and the imbalance of it. And I feel like this is speaking to, you're being presented with the opportunity to, whether it's to leave or to make a major decision, some new kind of major decision that implies movement of some kind. And for some of you, I feel like this is, for some of you, I feel like this is actually an abusive relationship that you are given the opportunity, presented the opportunity to leave, or to have the other individual leave. And for others of you, I feel like it represents the same thing, but it may play out in a different way. Maybe you get the opportunity, some kind of opportunity comes that enables you to move through it or move out and away from it in some way, however that resonates for those of you Aries that are watching. But it looks like it comes out of the blue, that it's a very unexpected sort of thing, and it represents the ability to have a new beginning, a new change, a movement away from this. And it looks very fortunate and very opportune. And it looks like it's happening. The feeling I'm getting is that it's happening at the right time, that it feels like God or spirit or the divine, whatever your spiritual structure is actually putting the right people in the right path. Being in the right place at the right time is what I'm getting, to have this opportunity presented to you to do something different within this relationship or some kind of situation. Perhaps it's a conventional addiction sort of situation, but you're presented with an opportunity to make a change, to make a move through and away from this. That's interesting. Now, directly following that, we have the Eight of Wands, followed by the Tower card. Now, the Eight of Wands, it's another Wands card, implying movement, change, action, power. The Eight of Wands speaks primarily, this is a card about communication, very fast communication, communication that is already on its way. As you can see, the wands are coming down quite rapidly out of the sky. They're already in motion. Things are already in progress. They can't be stopped. This speaks of communication, of an event, of something being revealed through communications, and it looks like it's happening very fast. This is going to be coming very fast, and it's going to be a very powerful communication, or a communication that has a very profound and significant effect on your life and on this situation. Now, it's paired with the Tower card, which is a major arcana card, and this card represents this card typically represents the foundation of something that we knew. This typically represents something that we knew and had as a foundation, or something that we thought was a stable foundation, being shaken and broken up. This represents something happening, something coming from the outside in. Major arcana cards I like to call the fingers of the divine, and the Tower underscores that, I think, more strongly than most of the other major arcana cards. Sometimes God or spirit or the universe comes in and creates a situation, or something happens, which sometimes at the time can appear quite cataclysmic and even devastating, but it is what is needed and required in order to affect changes in our life that we are either unable or unwilling to make or to affect ourselves. And it always represents the death of something, the tearing down of something, in order for something new and beautiful and good and positive and healthy to be built in its place. As you can see, this stable structure has been hit by lightning, and it is being torn asunder, and the man is falling out of the window completely naked, which implies a certain level of vulnerability in this as well. So it looks like um, whatever this communication is, or whatever this communication is revealing, is going to cause some kind of major upset, or something which at the time may seem kind of devastating or cataclysmic. And again, I'm just getting the feeling that in regards to this being a relationship that's unhealthy or even abusive, that something happens. Um, Perhaps it's that the other individual does something which causes you a level of hurt and betrayal or pain, to such an extent that um, you reach a point that you can no longer, and as it's following this opportunity being presented to you to either move through or away from the situation, I think that even though, okay, I have to stop here for a minute because I'm getting too many things kind of coming into my head at once. So what I want to say here is that the cards are not absolute predictors of this is absolutely going to happen. Um, what I feel is that if if this is a situation where if this is a situation where if no changes are made, Aries, if this is you and you're in this unhealthy or abusive relationship, and you're presented with an opportunity to either move through and out of it somehow, or presented with an opportunity to, if if this isn't resonating for you, whether you're in an unhealthy relationship or even an abusive relationship, or perhaps you're someone that is a, you're struggling with addiction problems and you're presented an opportunity maybe to go into rehab, or presented with an opportunity to have a new beginning in a different place, in a different way, so that you can heal and get better and get healthy. However, this resonates for you. In terms of the rest of the cards playing out with this Eight of Wands and the Tower card, the feeling that I'm kind of getting is that this is the most likely thing to occur if no changes are made, if this opportunity that's presented to you that represents a new life, a different life, a better life, a life that includes health and happiness and joy and balance. Um, what it feels like to me is that if this opportunity isn't taken, and that if no decisions are made and no changes are taken to put yourself on a different path, or a path that's leading out of the one that you're on now, which looks to be a very challenging and painful and unhealthy path, then it looks like the most likely outcome will be something that happens that's quite that can seem quite devastating, or cataclysmic, and looks like it's going to happen rather quickly. The last pairing of cards for the month of January 2016, we have the Lovers, followed by the Five of Swords. And again, the feeling that I'm getting is that this is really kind of tied up in a choice that you have to make, or an opportunity that's presented to you that you have to make a choice whether or not you're going to take it, meaning whether or not you're going to choose the path of walking away and of leaving, which the Six of Swords is kind of standing up there as an overall theme for this situation, or you're going to make the choice to stay and remain in this unhealthy relationship, or this addictive cycle. Um, the Lover's card, if this were a love reading, or I got a very strong relationship feel off of this reading, this would read a different way. But I actually feel that this goes back to the original definition of the card in the early tarot text, which actually was called the Choice, not the Lovers, and it depicted a man uh, standing in front of two women, or two women standing in front of a man. It was called the Choice, and I think that this card actually stands for that, and it stands for a very significant and profound choice that you're faced with in the month of January 2016. Uh, Most likely in the last half of the month. And what I'm thinking is maybe at the end of the month, you're in this place, Aries, for those of you for whom this reading resonates, because it's not going to for everyone. It feels very specifically oriented. It feels like you're in this position where it just really comes down to your choices. Um, it's paired with the Five of Swords, which represents it's technically a victory card of sorts, although it doesn't represent a real victory. It represents a shallow and very temporary victory. You can see this man is standing with all the swords of his enemies whom he's vanquished behind him, and he's holding his aloft. But if you look closer, you can see that this battle has cost him a great deal. He looks very tired, very weary, very exhausted. He's bleeding from a little cut on his forehead. Um, and This can play out in a couple of different ways in terms of what this combination of cards represents. It can represent, um, you may make the decision that you make may be to stay within this unhealthy relationship, for those of you for whom that's how it resonates. And this can speak of somebody having victory over you, somebody, particularly if this is an unhealthy, addictive, or abusive relationship, or a relationship where there's a strong element of unhealthy control in it. This can represent you making the decision, some kind of upset or some kind of major fight happening, but you make the decision to, for whatever reasons, to stay within this relationship. And so the person that you're in this relationship with has a victory, gains a victory over you somehow. It represents somebody still maintaining an unhealthy level of control over you. Um, it represents the outcome of the choice that you make being the wrong choice, an unhealthy choice. Um, and I'm getting kind of a very strong pull back to the Magician card when I look at this Lover's card, which I'm reading purely as a choice. It looks like you're presented with this Wheel of Fortune and Ace of Wands combination. You're presented with an opportunity to get out of this situation somehow, whether it's a relationship or an addiction cycle. You're presented with an opportunity to get out of it, to remove yourself out of it. But it's an opportunity that you have to make the decision to take or not to take. And it looks like the middle of the month you're presented with that, and at the end of the month it looks like you're this is a decision that you have to make. And for some of you, you're going to feel like this isn't a decision you can make, or like, how can I walk away, or how can I get out of this? I'm helpless. I can't do anything. I can't change anything. But the Magician card is saying that you can, that you have more control in this situation than you think you do, and you actually have all the tools, all the inner strength, all the resources, and all the help that you need with which to make this choice, to move through this and choose a path of health and happiness rather than the one that it looks like you're finding yourself in, which looks and feels very painful. Now, the card that you got as your overall theme, general feeling of the month and advice is the Six of Swords. And I think as an advice card, this speaks very strongly to moving away. This card represents swords, the element being that of air, and swords representing our thoughts, our ways of thinking, our perspective, our logic, our reasoning. And the Six of Swords represents a moving away. The implication being from troubled waters into more serene and calmer waters. It's a somber sort of card. It's a card of leaving and of moving away. It has a more serious, somber feeling to this card, but also there's an element of serenity and of peace in this as well. And I think that this is what it's speaking to in terms of this overall reading, is that this is a month where it looks like you're going to have to take a look at a situation that you find yourself in, a relationship or an addictive cycle that's very unhealthy and very painful for you, and to make a decision to move through and away from it, um, uh, on a path of health and a path of healing and a path of really changing how you look at yourself and how you look at the reasons why you've stayed in the situation for so long. And it looks like that's just a very strong piece of advice in this. And again, I'm getting just the underlying feeling that this month it's really about making a choice about whether you want to stay in this situation or whether you're going to make the choice to move out of it, to move away from it. That you have what it takes, even if you feel like you don't, you have what it takes to do this, Aries. So, what an interesting reading. It feels very dramatic in a sense, and very rather profound and significant. Again, Aries, for those of you for whom this resonates, I feel compelled to give you the message to remember who you are, to remember your value as a human being, and to remember that you do have what it takes to move through and away from this unhealthy situation or relationship or a cycle of addiction, that an imbalance that you find yourself in, and that if changes are made, and movement is created towards that goal, that it looks like you're going to be able to come through this, and into a place where you have more, where there's more serenity, there's more peace, and a place, I'm feeling, of healing. That this is a month that's going to be about making decisions for what's good and what's better for you and what's better for you in the long run, and a decision to cut away that which isn't serving you and which is in fact hurting and harming you, and move into a place where the healing can begin for you. And it looks like somewhere during this month, maybe around the middle to the third week of this month, you're going to be presented with an opportunity to do that, which is going to come with the choice of whether you take it or not. And I think, Aries, that you have this. You're able to do this. a beautiful, strong fire sign. So remember that as you're moving through this month and facing these challenges. So I look forward to seeing how this plays out for you in a way that I know can be quite successful for you. Um, yeah, stay true to who you are, Aries. Stay true to who you are and stay authentic and cut away the things that are hurting you so that you can move into a place of health and healing.